bit about the idea of brakes in the swing. Deceleration brakes, that sort of stuff has become very popular to train within the hitting community the last few years with good reason. Super important. Nobody's going to dispute that. But I want to maybe look at it through a slightly different lens from I guess, the way people traditionally view it. And in that regard, you can kind of look at the way you train it a bit differently and maybe see what's happening a bit differently. Again, depends on context, right? Not everybody's braking system will need the same affordances, right? So this particular hitter had a really difficult time laying the brakes down because of a reason that might be different from why another hitter can't lay the brakes down. Anyways, so let's take a look at the physics of this thing really quickly. So when we think about braking, right, all we're doing is slowing down. You put down the brakes on your car, you push the brake pedal, you slow down, right? So if we think of slowing down as a change in momentum, so this triangle P here, change in momentum. So what we want to understand is momentum itself is equal to mass times velocity. We're going to want to keep that in mind here. Now, the change in momentum that is required to throw the brakes down is also defined in physics as impulse. So impulse J equals change in momentum. Now, so what does that mean? It means in order to create the change in momentum, we need to throw the brakes down. We need to apply an impulse with that lead side, right? I think we already know that though. Now, impulse itself equals force times time. Now, what we want to appreciate is that force is expressed through internal rotation. Now, it's not to say that I can't create downforce with an extremity and external rotation, but I'm going to get internal rotation somewhere else, which is going to decrease my movement affordances, which is going to create compensations that we don't necessarily want to see in an efficient swing. So, long story short here, what we need to be able to do is create enough of this IR to manipulate the variable here, F, to be able to establish enough of an impulse, J, to be able to withstand the momentum, P, coming from our backside. And in that regard, we can get this nice change in momentum that is needed to create an efficient braking system. So I guess that's kind of the physics component of it. And what we're going to do here is talk about how we can manipulate these things and how we do it in this particular hitter, right? So we're going to talk about things like delaying momentum, so delaying P, such that we don't necessarily want to decrease momentum, but we want to delay it such that we can achieve this, so that we can achieve everything else we just talked about, right? So that's kind of what we're going to go into a bit here. So I want to start with this swing here on the left, and unfortunately it looks like I'm going to be cutting his head off as I try and work our way through this. But so I'm just going to play this full speed, and what we'll kind of see is this, what people accurately will traditionally describe as a swing without very efficient brakes, right? So it kind of looks like this is actually significantly better even here than where we were months ago. But regardless, this is still a swing where we don't really have an efficient braking system. This impulse from the lead leg is not really achieving what we want it to, okay? So what I need to be able to think is, I got to think a little bit deeper than that. So I got to think, why are we not achieving the impulse from this lead leg that we would like to be able to catch this move and create the downforce to create the brakes that everybody knows and loves, right? So it's why, right? So I got to look a little bit deeper than the lead leg a lot of times. Not always. Sometimes it is. You can just kind of tweak with the lead, play with the lead leg and get the desired outcome. But what I know about this athlete is we're working with a tall, narrow hitter. Tall, narrow, left-handed hitter, right? I know this guy is probably going to be dropping his internal rotation a little bit further, forward than, definitely probably further forward than the heel on this front foot. But he's dropping this internal rotation decently far forward on this on this back foot, this left foot. He'll be dropping his internal rotation fairly far forward, most likely. Now, as we take him into leg lift or stride, we'll see this, and we can kind of use this black mark on the shoe as kind of like a reference point. But we'll see as soon as this this stride leg picks up, this front of his foot is going to aggressively slam down into the ground. So again, right here, we see that thing slam down in the ground really quickly and aggressively. So what we're seeing here is this, as soon as this leg lifts, this backside is getting rushed straight ahead forward really quickly. And he needs to stop himself with the forefoot, basically not to fall down, right? So once this slams down and stops from going forward anymore, at this point, he is going to start going, and I can't draw on here. Maybe I can. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to figure out how. But at this point, when this slams down and it stops the energy from going forward, it's now going to start moving laterally. Well, laterally is not a great descriptor, but it's going to get going to the right now. Once that happens, right, we actually see this compensatory kind of external rotation, the back leg to try and hold himself back, and it's not quite going to hit quite right. But either way, what we're seeing here is he is very, very quickly sending momentum left to right. Okay, that's all we're trying to say here. That is happening very quickly, very fast. So what he needs to do is, and we look at this stride leg now, as everything's going really quickly to the right, he's going to need to use some sort of compensatory move to try and accept it, since it's getting there so damn quickly. So he's basically going to kind of cut off this stride early. We'll see he kind of cuts it off, brings that foot back down, twists it out, right? So he's trying to he's trying to allow himself to catch it, and we're going to go guts here, guys. So whether we like it or not, we got about 30 pounds of them in our body, plus or minus a bit, right? But what's happening is all of that is getting thrown really quickly to the right. So all that momentum, we need to be able to catch it somehow. So with it getting there so quick, we're going to spin open to try and accommodate that. Basically cut off the stride, spin open. Only way we're really going to have any chance to catch it at that point. And from here, we are not going to be in a great position to apply the internal rotation downforce to create the impulse we need to create the brakes that we want. So now we kind of just blow right through. So one of the first boxes we're going to want to check here is his capacity of creating the internally rotated shape that he'll need in order to produce that impulse from the lead side that we want to create that, braking force, right? So we're going to test his ability to create that shape against the forces of gravity with the load propulsion test here. So we're going to lift our left leg, push down with the right leg, turn off the volume, and check for, where compensations might occur, because what we're ultimately trying to do here on this side is push down, basically create the internally rotated shape to be able to push down without compensation. Again, we're against the forces of gravity. Can we create that shape under those circumstances, right? So now looking at this test, is it perfect? No. Is there some compensation here? Sure, yeah. But having done this with a decent number of hitters, you'll see plenty of guys with less capacity to execute this move that are able to produce the impulse, an effective impulse with the lead side. Is this enough of a capacity for him to be able to do this? Impossible to say, but it does give us an idea of how much capacity he does have, which is a valuable piece of information.